Welcome to a special edition of the Muscle of Yarn podcast. This is not a normal broadcast, but this is where Kelly and I answer your questions.
Yes, so we asked you guys for our 100th episode. I almost said our 100th anniversary.
Kind of close.
For our 100th episode, I asked you guys to ask us questions, and we drew a prize winner from that.
Yep.
But we thought it would be really fun to go back and answer the questions.
Yeah.
So Ange isn't available for a normal podcast this week, so we decided that this would be a good time to go ahead and do that. So it is Sunday, and I have no idea what the date is. The 22nd?
It's something. It might be the 23rd. I think it's
something.
the 23rd.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the 23rd. Of September, and we're at my house, and we're in my extremely messy craft bunker. It's a little bit of a disaster at the moment, but Ange knows, and she just,
It's fine. So here we are. So we're here to answer your questions.
That's right, and we've got 6 pages of questions for you guys.
Yep, we'll see how many we get through. This might be a 2 or 3 part series.
Yeah. We can kind of combine some of them and do that. But some of them we may be able to answer pretty quickly. So we might... There's Lucy.
There she is. Hello, Lucy. So Kelly went through all of your questions and combined them sort of by topic.
Yeah, and there were a lot of them that were duplicates. So I just kind of put one in that kind of seemed to cover the general gist of the question.
Yep.
So,
So I think we're going to start with the questions that Kelly combined under the heading personal stories. So these are questions you asked about sort of our us personally and our sort of history or who's its and what's its.
Yeah. Exactly.
Though I suppose we could take a step back. So I'm Angela.
And I'm Kelly. They know all about us. They'll know all about us except for our names. Oh my gosh.
And you can find both of us out on social media. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Junior Bird Kid.
And you can find me on Instagram as Kelly O Spins, and you can find me on Ravelry as Kelly Spins. And typically, we're coming to you from our store, which is Muscle of Yarn. So if you're watching this and you haven't watched our podcast before, we typically broadcast. We tape our shows from our store, Muscle of Yarn in Shelburne, Vermont. Yep. And but today, like we said, we're doing things a little differently. And but if you're interested, the store is available out on social media and the website is everything is Muscle of Yarn.
Yep.
And there are some store questions, so we're going to be talking a little bit more about the store a little later on.
Yep. All right, so now that we got those out of the way.
That
important stuff about who we are.
Yeah.
Let's jump into our personal story.
Okay.
So our first question is, where were you each born and where did you grow up? And if it was outside of Vermont, how did you end up here? So I am a native Oregonian. And depending on the genealogy, I'm either a 4th or 5th generation Oregonian. So my family's been out there for quite some time. And that's also where I grew up. And how did I end up in Vermont? All the way across the country. I came out here for law school. And I stayed. Much, I think, to my parents' chagrin.
Yeah.
But I liked Vermont. I enjoyed being on the East Coast. And
although with the humidity hits, you wonder why.
Summers I'm not super keen on. I really enjoy the winters.
So I was born in Vermont, and I grew up in the Mad River Valley of Vermont. So I've lived here pretty much my whole life. The only time I didn't, my husband and I lived over in the Adirondacks of New York State for a little while. But yeah, I am a Vermonter from many, many, many generations. So I am a true Vermonter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sticking point here in Vermont.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
I am not, but people don't really know what to do with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm from a state that they're mostly not familiar with.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of, oh. Okay.
We have a spy.
Oh.
So yeah, so I've pretty much been in Vermont my whole life.
Nice.
So, and I, for the most part, love it here. There's some weird, quirky things that are, but I think you get that wherever
I'm convinced you're
are.
going to have that no matter where you are. So do the things you enjoy outweigh those quirky things? And for me, they do.
Yeah, for me, yeah, it's great. There's a lot of outdoor activities you can do, and it's small town, but there's still a lot of stuff going on. There's you can pretty much find some sort of music or concert or food festival, or there's always something going on. So, and with fall, there's a lot of fall festivals, apple picking,
harvest festivals, orchards. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. So we'll have cider donuts before too long.
I had some today.
Did you?
Yes. We went to one of the orchards.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, unlike people who stand in line, an hour or more for cider donuts at Rhinebeck, we don't do that because I can go down to the corner store and they get them from the local orchard.
Made fresh.
Sometimes they're still warm.
I feel like we should hand out cider donuts.
We can hand out cider donuts.
We'd probably get escorted from the fairgrounds for handing out unsanctioned food.
I know, right? But we're not charging for it.
We're just there in their goodie bags.
We could do that. That'd be hilarious.
That would be fun.
Cider donuts from Vermont.
Yeah.
With maple syrup. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Moving right along. See, we can make this really long.
Yeah, we could.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or fortunately, The second question is, how long have you known one another and where did you meet?
Funny story. 2 knitters walk into a knit group at the local library.
Uh-huh.
Or 3 knitters, actually, because we do have, we have a third business partner.
We do.
Jen, who appears occasionally on the podcast. It's more Kelly and I's thing.
Yeah. Jen is quite busy and travels a lot for work, so she's typically not around. And she doesn't not want to do the podcast, but she's got too many other things going on. So maybe when she retires,
so we get her on for a special New Year's Eve one, or we find times occasionally to get her on it, or sometimes we'll get the pop in. While we're filming on Thursdays.
Yeah, she's more than happy to let us do it on a weekly basis, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we've known each other, 4?
I want to say 5 years.
4 to 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not a huge amount of time.
No.
Which people are really shocked about when they find that out, because they're like, you guys get along so well. And
I think sometimes you just click personality-wise with people, and it's like you've known people for a lot longer than you have, and I think that's a great way to describe Kelly and I's relationship, and also our relationship with Jen.
Yeah,
it's
it just kind of all worked out. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. What is a fun fact for each of you? Oh man. Well, it'll follow it up with the next question, which is, what is something quirky we should know about you? So
I can answer the quirky one really easily.
Okay, so go.
So quirky one for me, if I get mad, I clean. So, and it's usually when my husband and I have a disagreement or something, I just don't eat my yarn. I just the house becomes spotless, and I especially this kitchen. I really scrub the kitchen. That's my quirky thing. But if I'm cleaning, don't necessarily think I'm mad at I just might be cleaning because it's dirty and the house needs cleaning. But this morning I was vacuuming and stuff, and it's not because I was mad.
So she yelled at you, and now you're coming over to my yarn.
She's like, oh,
Next.
I can chew on your yarn? Yeah.
Next. All right, so I'll go with a quirky question, too, and then we can come back to the the fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, this might be more fun fact.
Oh, okay.
We'll do them reverse order. Fun fact. I have only owned vehicles that are standard transmission.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I learned to drive on a standard, but I don't know if I've driven some since, but I haven't owned one since I first learned to drive.
Fun fact.
There's a lot of people actually in Vermont
Yeah.
that drive standard transmission vehicles. You can find them pretty easily. Like if you go to a car dealership,
Yeah.
you can find them fairly easily. Sometimes not as much anymore as you used to.
Yeah. No, and it's getting harder. In fact, we at my house have two pickup trucks. This might fall into something quirky. This might be the answer for both of these questions for me. We have two pickup trucks, one which is an estate vehicle, meaning that it's not registered or insured, and we just use it for plowing our driveway.
Yeah. Which is not uncommon in Vermont.
Very, very common. But that truck is a standard transmission. And then we may or may not have bought its replacement truck because it was also a standard transmission. Both Fords. Both standard.
That's a fun fact about me. That one's hard. I don't feel like...
You don't feel like you have any fun facts?
I have a craft bunker.
That's a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. It's a total disaster at the moment.
I wish I had a craft bunker.
But the nice... So, I was telling Ange, when I got back from the Webb's retreat, I had, like, bags of stuff, and I just came down here and threw them down here. So they weren't in the way upstairs. Which is kind of nice, because I have a room where I can just throw stuff, or if I'm in the middle of a project, I can leave it set up, you know, because if you sew at your kitchen table or something and you're gonna, not that we, a sort of fun fact, I very rarely eat at my dining room table. It's funny though, so my husband and I, so I usually have Sundays off, and we always do like a big breakfast together, and he makes French toast, which is really nice, and you know, I make like a little teapot of tea, and we always eat our Sunday morning breakfast at the table. Yeah. But dinners, a lot of times we just plop on the couch and, you know, because we're...
So I will say, before kids, that was us.
Yeah.
Like, we would just come home, make dinner, just veg in front of the TV while we ate dinner. But since having kids, we've instituted
some structure
dinner at the table every night as family. Electronic devices are put away. Like, it's just family time.
Yeah, that's really nice. And, you know, growing up, that's what we did. Yeah. We always, you know, had dinner at the table, and so, yeah. Exactly.
All right, so I think we covered those. My question to you two is, have you always gotten along so well? Have you ever had a disagreement? So we were actually talking about this one a little bit before. I don't think that we have.
I know, I don't think
unless we were completely unaware of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of, like, not a serious disagreement. It may have been something where somebody said something or did something, and we're like, what? But it's nothing like where we wouldn't, like, speak to each other for days or anything like that. But I don't really, I don't really see that happening either, because, I mean, we're just kind of like, whatever. We talk about it and figure it out.
Yeah, or I think we know each other's personalities enough. Like, we understand when we're teasing with each other, because I think that's where a lot of the disagreements come from, folks, is like somebody's a teaser and somebody's not, or doesn't understand that they're being teased.
Yeah, and so something that, and Ange is not from New England, so it's different, but New Englanders are notoriously very sarcastic and have, you know, kind of a different sense of humor. So Ange fits right in with that. So, and so. Is that okay for that? Oh yeah, that's fine. Okay, no worries. And like the big things, like even like for business decisions and things, the big things we always usually agree on, or if it's not that important to us, we're just kind of like, you know what, that's fine.
I think what we found is if somebody's really passionate about it, something, an issue, the other two are like, well, it's not as important, but if it's that important to you, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Which I think makes things work well. We haven't had a point where all three of us, or even two and one of us, have been super passionate and the other person's super passionate in the other direction.
Right.
So,
yeah,
I think
it's
just been good, harmonious, and hopefully we haven't jinxed ourselves.
Knock on wood.
No.
That's another New England thing.
Yeah.
You'll hear a lot. People will say, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Very superstitious.
So, very superstitious lot.
It's fine. I fit in well here.
I know.
My people.
I found my people.
All right. So next one. It looks like the next three are like
all for Angela.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And she's losing her voice, so you know.
Yeah. So we may, if it really starts to go, we'll just shut it off and ask it the next.
Reconvene later.
Okay. Question for Angela. Where do you find the time to be a lawyer, raise your kids and dog, well, I'm still wondering about the sanity of that dog thing, own a yarn store, podcast, and knit? I don't know how you do it. Hope to meet you at the retreat if I can make it. First off, I would say I have a very understanding and supportive husband.
Mm-hmm.
So
who's also an attorney.
Yeah, he's also an attorney. So that helps a lot. I am also self-employed. So I own my own firm, which gives me quite a bit of flexibility to be able to structure my workday in a way that works for me. And I will say practicing law in the state of Vermont is quite a bit different than practicing law in other areas, or particularly in big cities, in the sense that most of us are lawyers here because we enjoy Vermont and we have interests outside of being a lawyer. So it's not rare, but it's less common to find those attorneys who basically work 24 hours a day and work 7 days a week and go in on every day of the weekend and, have like nonstop work, because that's not why we live here. Yeah. If I wanted to do that, I would live in the city and make a crap ton of money.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be.
So there's a trade-off in both directions, but I will say, a lot of it is, particularly with the knitting, is I always have it with me. I can't take it into court, but I always have it in the car. I always have it with me if I'm out walking around or watching my kid play soccer. I have my knitting. I'm standing and knitting. So my hands are always busy. I mean, think of all the times that you're just sitting there playing on your phone. Usually I'm knitting.
I know.
And not doing that. So that's kind of how I've just learned to change some of my lifestyle stuff to fit in the knitting.
You want.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't watch a huge amount of television in my house. Like, we do other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I don't do a huge amount with the day-to-day running of the store. That does fall to Kelly. I come into podcasts. I help work on the weekends or occasionally during the week if it's a really big an emergency and we need some coverage. But
Ange does a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, so she can kind of squeeze that in when she has availability.
Right, it's all stuff I can do on the computer at my office that I don't have to be physically in the store.
She does a lot of our tax things, and she does that for her own business. So I was happy to defer that to her.
You take care of this.
and she does a lot of the events, behind-the-scenes events coordinating, where she can sit down and pop out a bunch of emails when she's got a few minutes here and there. So, which is really, takes a lot off of my plate that I don't have to do all of that stuff. But it's a way she can still be connected with the store too. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. So why am I Junior Bird Kid?
You talked about this on something.
Yeah, I can't. It might have been. Was it the New Year? It might have been the New Year's Eve.
Oh, I think maybe
the New Year's Eve live.
The live one.
Live one. We should do a live YouTube again. We haven't done one of those.
I know.
But anyway, I digress. So why am I junior bird kid? Well, my undergraduate degree is actually in the sciences. So I have a biology and chemistry degrees for undergraduate, and was huge into like bird watching and natural sciences. In fact, my husband is as well. So we've been known to stop our cars in the middle of the road to like, look, it's a pileated woodpecker, you know. And
we've got one in the woods.
Awesome.
We've got a great horned owl back to a pair of them.
We have a sharp-shinned hawk nesting pair in our woods.
I don't know if I know what that looks like.
Yeah, they're kind of like mid-sized hawks. They're loud.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got tons of barred owls and stuff. But so really into bird watching, and when I was going to set up a really old email account, I was trying to be bird kid, like at yahoo.com. And apparently somebody had already taken that name. So the next best thing I could come up with is junior bird kid.
And it just kind of stuck.
And it's just stuck.
And nobody else has it.
Nobody else has it. When I was first coming out onto social media, I was trying to be kind of incognito. Mm-hmm. And so that was a way for me to be incognito on like Ravelry. And when I first got on Instagram, because it wasn't attached to my actual name. Mm-hmm. But then the podcast kind of just totally imploded that whole part of it. And I was like, whatever. So
yeah.
That's why.
So she kept it.
So I kept it, because y'all know me as Junior Bird Kid now. Mm-hmm. If I changed it, I'd mess y'all up.
I know, I was like, if I no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
And do I have a craft bunker? Sadly, no. I do not have a craft bunker. I wish that I had a craft bunker. Unless you count under the bed, in the guest room, and in the closet in the guest room, and in a couple of toters in my own room as a craft bunker, which I don't. But yeah. No, it's hard when you have a family, because they require bedroom space, right. Those children.
Yes.
Where I could possibly have a craft bunker.
Exactly. So maybe after they're, off in college and can convert a room and...
Or when I win the lottery and put a giant addition on my house. It'll be my yarn studio. Wouldn't even make it attached.
A she shed?
A she shed instead of a man cave. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Man, oh man. All right. So do either of you enjoy reading? And if so, what is your favorite book or author?
I love reading. I really love reading. And I read kind of all genres. For a long time, I was kind of stuck in the kind of mystery, crime thriller type books. Mm-hmm. And I still enjoy those, and they're really quick reads. Mm-hmm. But we have a friend who works in publishing, and it's been kind of nice because every year for Christmas, like, he just sends us a box of books.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is really cool. So I've just, like, been reading a little bit of everything. The company he works for does a lot of cookbooks, so we get a lot of cookbooks, which is awesome. Some really great cookbooks. But they also do a lot of other books, and so it's just been... some nonfiction, some fiction, so just a little bit of everything. I really just enjoy reading. I've been reading since my husband and I went to England this summer. We've both been reading kind of English history books. Mm-hmm. He's actually reading about much earlier English, and I'm reading. I've been reading about the Tudor period. So I've been reading that, and then I just recently started reading a Scottish history book. So
have you read anything by Philippa Gregory?
I have. Yes. What did I read of hers? Yes, I have.
I like her books a lot. So she does historical fiction. So the historical story is for the most part accurate, but a lot of the characters are not.
Correct.
Other than sort of the main players.
Yeah, they follow, like, if there's a war that happened, it'll be the same time frame of when that happened. Yeah. I've read all of the Game of Thrones series. I read that actually before they started the...
Yeah, me too.
the HBO series.
I feel so. The answer to the question is yes, I do enjoy reading.
Yeah.
But I did too. Have you seen any of the Game of Thrones series? Okay, I haven't watched Game of Thrones, but I've read all of the books.
So it stays fairly true to the books until partway through the 5th.
Okay. Because I was wondering, like, how are they going to do this?
Yeah, so it starts to veer off. So I'm really curious. So the last season for the HBO series is coming up. I think this 2019. I think they're doing the last few episodes. So I'm really curious to and George R. R. Martin is actually helping with like the screenplay on it.
Interesting.
So I'm really curious how
the next book.
I know, and I was like, well, some of the characters who don't die in the
Stop working
series,
on the screenplay
I
and
know.
finish the book.
I know, and that's the thing. Like some of the people, though, they don't kill off some of the people in the TV show that they do in the book.
Oh,
so I don't know how they're gonna.
How's that gonna work?
So yeah, so who knows if there's another book coming or not?
Interesting.
But yeah, so I read that. I've read a lot of Tolkien.
Yeah, me too.
Some of like the obscure ones that he's written.
The Silmarillion.
Yeah, exactly.
We just flew. This is why we get along so well, right? We're just flying our nerd flag right now.
Right. Yeah. And
have you read any Terry Goodkind?
No.
You might like that series.
Yeah, okay.
If I remember, I'll grab the first book when we head to Rhinebeck.
Yeah.
And you can see it's another sort of like fantasy, kind of magic-y, kind of Tolkien-esque, George R. R. Martin-esque kind of book. You might like that.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Nice. I'm always looking for good book suggestions.
Yeah. And that one's like a 10 or 12 book series, and they're all pretty good. So,
nice.
Yeah. All right. See, there you go. It's Kelly and Angela's Book Club.
I know. I have read some of Outlander. I got all the way through part of book 6, and then I was just kind of like, I stalled out.
Yeah.
And it just, like, something good happens, something bad happens, something good happens, something bad happens, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I have I have all of them, but I just haven't finished the series because I just kind of got burned out on it, and I was just like, all right. And I started watching the show, and I was just...
I did a little bit too, and then I just got busy with other stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have cable, so my parents would have to like tape it and then like send it to me, burn a disc, DVD, and send it to me, and it just was complicated and not really worth it. Also, I read a lot of smut. Like Julie Garwood and Nora Roberts, and just, quick, just brain candy reads, because sometimes I just need just something that I don't have to invest a lot of
that you can just
thought into, and that I can just enjoy. So
I haven't read a whole lot. I mean, I reading. I'm a pretty fast reader, especially if it's something that I'm interested in. Like the George R. R. Martin, his series, that didn't take me long at all.
No.
And I mean, his books are fat books. I've read the Harry Potter books.
Yep, Harry Potter.
Those are
fantastic.
fun. Yep. And
I actually
go
read
back
War and
and
Peace
reread
once.
this. Did you really?
Yeah.
I have not read War and Peace.
Yeah. It was interesting. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read a lot of the classics. A lot of the classics.
Yep.
And there's a lot that I still haven't read. My high school was really good about teaching the classics, so we did read a lot of them. But there's still a lot, like I said, that I want to read that I haven't yet. Yeah, I mean, so I really read
you have pretty eclectic taste.
Yeah.
I tend to read more fiction. I'm not a huge fan of non-fiction. Occasionally I will, but it's not...
I found it can really depend on the author.
Yeah.
Because I've read a couple books on the Tudors, and one of them was okay, but the other one, it was much more interesting just because of the style of writing.
Yeah.
So...
It's true.
Yeah, it can make a difference. I don't read tons of nonfiction, but I do read some.
Most of the nonfiction I read is like knitting books, like the Claire Parks ones, or
Knitlandia,
and some of those. Yeah,
those are fun. Yeah.
Or the
Stephanie Pearl McPhee's and hers.
Yep.
Those are fun. Yeah. So some
Yeah.
knitting books.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I think, sometimes nice just for me to disconnect, and fiction does that. You know, even if you're reading history books, I think fiction helps you just kind of disconnect more.
Right.
And it's, I read it at night a lot. Usually before I go to bed, I'll read for like half an hour to an hour, and just kind of to clear my brain.
Yeah. And I think followed up, I'm going to add my own question to this one, is I spend a lot of time, because I sometimes travel quite a bit for work, and I'm always in a car or in my car. So
Audiobooks?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Okay.
I used to do books on tape or books on CD, check out from the library or, you know, something like that. But since podcasts have kind of gone viral, there's so many options out there, and those are the ones that I tend to listen to a lot more, like nonfiction. So I like a lot of true crime podcasts, though every once in a while I'll be like, I had to listen to something else because I think I'm getting really depressed. Listen to all these murder stories.
Or I'm just like, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
What? I'm not going
Especially as the days are getting shorter and it gets darker much quicker.
I'm not going out there.
Yeah.
Somebody else can go check on that weird noise. So some of my favorite are Wine and Crime podcast, Real Crime Profiles. I know I'm gonna miss some. But I do, and then in the non true crime genre, like the Dak Shepard Armchair Expert podcast is great.
Oh, did you start listening to that?
Yeah, I started listening to that. One Bad Mother. I will say, all of these podcasts...
Not for kids?
Not for kids, and they do have bad language.
Yeah.
So if you don't like bad language, I would not recommend any of these podcasts.
Yeah. Excuse you. I need my needle. Oh my god. Alright, we're going to put the knitting aside for a minute until Lucy decides to go somewhere else. Oh my gosh.
All right. Would love to know what both of you did before opening the shop. I had a lot more free time.
I don't think that's what they were going for, but you know. So did I, but you know.
I still actually have my professional day job. So, I still do that in addition to the yarn shop.
I've pretty much worked retail most of my life, and my background is I went to school for animal science with a concentration in equine reproduction, and I do have a horse for anybody.
So the next time we ask for questions.
Yeah. So my last job, I was a buyer at a tack store. So the store where if you're not familiar with horses, where you would get your saddles, bridles,
riding clothes.
consumables, riding clothes. They did have a section that was for feed, for grain and things like that. So, but the owner of that also, he had a pet store side of it too, and that was his background is dog training. So he kind of handled the small animal side, and I handled the horses.
Right.
So that's what I was doing for my last job, and I've done a little bit of everything. So as people in retail and who live in a service-based tourist economy do.
Yeah, or even just like any small business, because I know in my own firm, my own professional job, I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you do.
There's no avoiding it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Wear many, many hats.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. All right, so what's your favorite non-knitting activity?
Favorite non-knitting activity?
Drinking wine.
Does that count?
Does that count?
I think just being outside, spending time with my animals, is kind of my favorite thing. I like going on, hikes, walks in the woods, hanging out with the dog.
Yeah.
Dogs. taking them for walks. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing when if I'm not knitting, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or, hanging out in my barn, spending time with my horse, or I don't know. That's probably for me.
I like cooking.
Oh, yeah, that's another good one.
Something that I can do with my kids as well.
Yeah.
Getting them trained on how to be proficient in the kitchen, and it's just fun. It's a great sort of family activity.
And kids tend to be a lot less picky if they're kind of involved in the process too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Yep. They can take ownership of it. Like, I helped make this.
Yeah.
So that's, we like to do that at my house. Do stuff outside. The same, I would say like gardening, but I'm a
fair weather gardener.
I'm a very enthusiastic gardener at the beginning of the season, and then I will never show you any pictures of my garden this time of the year because it's very sad looking.
Yeah, we haven't done a garden in a couple of years, and we're actually this fall going to get our garden cleaned out because it's a disaster right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to get it cleaned out this fall and get it ready so that in the spring we can plant. Because my husband and I both enjoy the vegetables and knowing where our food comes from. And, I actually enjoy doing a lot of the preserving, so pickling and things like that. I really like that. And like Ange said, cooking is another one of the things that I really enjoy doing. I love baking. Yep. I don't do it very often because there is just two of us that, I don't want to have an entire cake sitting around. Although, now that I do have this store, I can bring it in for knit group and things like that.
There's ways to get rid of it.
Yeah. So I, and now that cooler weather is coming back, I will start doing some more of it.
Yeah.
But I do really enjoy baking, and cooking in general. So we actually just hired somebody a full-time person at the store, which has made it so that my schedule's become really flexible, which is nice. I've been working mornings in the store and then coming home and working from home in the afternoon, which allows me to not have to eat at 8 o'clock at night. So I can make pretty elaborate dinners during the week, which I just really enjoy that time.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice quiet time, and I just kind of start puttering away in the kitchen and getting everything prepped, and then you just kind of like roll from one thing into the next with a glass of wine in hand,
Can I come to your house?
Of course! You're welcome anytime.
You heard it here on the podcast, folks.
And she'll be like, knock, knock,
knock, knock, knock. We just got done with soccer practice. Is dinner ready? Oh, man.
Yeah, so
Kelly's gonna be like, I revoke that invitation starting now.
I said, you're welcome at my house anytime. I'm just kidding.
All right, so we got a boxers or briefs or boy shorts hip huggers. Do you for me or for somebody else?
I know. Yeah.
I'm a briefs kind of gal for myself, but
I wear it depends somewhat on what I'm
what
wearing.
you're wearing. Yeah.
Yeah. For guys, boxers.
Yeah.
Well, actually, boxer briefs on guys.
Boxer briefs.
See,
look, we are like the same person.
We're like the same. She's West Coast me, and I'm East Coast her.
Yeah, and we just met in Vermont.
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing. All right.
Another Ange question.
Yep. When you camp, do you tent it or trailer it? We tent it. Or even better, do you go glamping? No.
Not glamping in the true sense of the word, but
there is wine involved.
Right. She's not like backpacking out to a site and then camping.
Not anymore.
Right.
When my kids get older, we may start doing that again. Because I used to do that.
Yeah.
Like backpack camping.
Yeah.
Car camping is really fun because you can put a lot of stuff in a car.
Yeah.
Or truck. We take our truck.
Yeah, even more.
Put a ton of stuff in the back of the truck. But we sleep in a tent. We usually get a campsite that has a lean-to because the number of times I've been camping in the summer here when it's rained is very high. So the lean-to gives you a place to just be completely dry and out of the rain.
It gives you like a nice living space.
Yep.
You can use that as your,
Yep. So, we eventually we'll start doing more primitive camping, but I still got a kid in diapers. I'm not doing primitive camping with a kid in diapers.
No.
It's just not.
Yeah, that would
in a
be
couple more
challenging.
years,
Yeah.
we'll start doing that. There's some primitive campsites around that are state parks here, so we'll probably start with those.
There's a nice one up in Richmond, Jonesville.
Yep,
I've been to. That
there's
nice.
One in the islands, and there's one on Green River Reservoir, and there's
there's a lot of them around.
Just not yet. Soon though.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yes.
All right. Next question: have your husbands tried to knit with you, and are there pictures?
No and no.
Yes and yes. And I put some on Instagram. They weren't of like they're of our hands, but yes, he has tried it, and he made a hat for me, and he hasn't knit since.
Yep.
So I don't know if he'll get back into it or not, but we'll see.
My son William has occasionally picked up knitting. He has a knitting bag with a couple of projects in it, and he will pick that up and come knit with me. Or he's been bugging me to learn how to crochet, and I keep jerk. I keep telling him, you're gonna have to go learn from Kelly. But I tell him, well, you need to get, when you are good at knitting or when you learn how to knit, then we can work on a different craft. He's like, Mom, I know how to knit. You haven't even finished a project.
That's really funny.
Don't worry, he's an expert.
Okay. He is pretty good at the store. Like when he's come in before, he knows kind of where everything is. He
is. He's paying attention. He knows the slang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I was wondering, do you share your knits? I know if I had a knitty friend, I'd be all over their things, and vice versa.
We haven't.
Surprisingly, no.
I know. I think we have similar tastes in knits to some degree, but I don't know. I wear mine. I wear mine
too.
A lot. And because a lot of times I have a lot of shawls, because for me those are easy, and I can kind of just throw them on, and I'm not too hot, not too cold. So I wear mine a lot. And then my sweaters. Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the downsides of having the store, because if there's something I'm not wearing a huge amount, and particularly if it's has been knit out of yarn from the store, it's at the store.
Yeah.
I actually have at least three sweaters at the store right now.
Yeah.
Maybe 4.
You've got a few.
And a couple of hats, and so
that's me too, yeah.
A lot of my stuff just ends up at the store.
So I could wear it
Kelly could wear it if she wanted to.
Yeah. Because sometimes, if I haven't dressed as well as I should have and didn't realize it was going to be as cold, then, if I just went in a long sleeve t-shirt, then I could just grab something, which I've actually done because a lot of my knits are there too. So I just go in and finish getting dressed when I get to the store. Just throw on a sweater, throw on a shawl or something. So, yeah. So, no, we haven't really shared our knits.
We're not actually exactly the same size either.
Yeah.
I'm slightly larger than Kelly. So we would have some sizing issues.
Even my other knitting friends, I don't
No,
share.
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good idea though.
Yeah. Let's see, we did that one already.
Have you both always lived in the area in your shop? And if not, okay.
Yeah, we did that one.
Seriously disagreed on anything.
That one we did talk about. But the second part of that was, could you and your spouses vacation together and still be friends afterwards? So Aunt and I were talking about this one earlier, actually, when my husband was in the room.
We straw pulled her husband.
Right. And our husbands, actually, when we first were moving into our original location, they hung all the slat wall for us together. Yeah, they did a lot of work, and they worked really well together.
Yeah.
And they're very similar in a lot of ways, too, so I don't see us not.
I think it would be fine. The question would be, are my kids there?
Yeah.
If it was a grown-up vacation, it would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be great.
Fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I share what your husband said?
Yes.
He said, how much alcohol is there going to be there?
Right.
And I was like, hey, we take lots of alcohol when we go anywhere with our kids. So there'll be a lot.
Which is really funny because we're actually not that big of drinkers. Like, we have like a glass of wine or something here or there, but yeah.
I think it would be fun, though, at some point for all of us to go camping.
That would be
because
fun.
we would have 3 dogs, 2 wild kids, 4 grown-ups, like, or Jen could come too, there'd be 5 adults. Like, it would be fun.
It kind of would be fun.
You get Carol and her husband to come too. And, oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
It would be fun. We should plan it. But the problem is that it's very hard to vacation with people you're in business with. Because if you all go away, somebody has to be at the store.
I know. Although, because we have hired a full-time person, it's a little bit more feasible now.
Could be possible.
Yeah.
Could be possible.
Because all of us ladies get to graciously
go to Rhinebeck this year.
So we're very excited about that.
It's the first time that we've all been able to go in a couple years.
Yeah. We haven't been able to swing it before, but
somebody's had to stay and work the store.
Yeah. So we're really, really excited about that.
So much fun.
Yeah. I know. For me, I mean, I love Rhinebeck, but I love, like, when we get done at the end of the day and we come back, we sit around, drink wine, knit, eat some good
Show
food.
each other. Inevitably, Kelly, has found something that we're like, where did you find that? I have to go to that booth tomorrow.
I know. And it's funny because I look for, like, things that you don't see everywhere. So kind of those unique things. And, yeah, so it's kind of fun finding that.
I feel like I do too, but you're just really good at it.
Maybe because I just like stare at stuff for so long.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Should do we have another section there that's like not very big?
Oh,
I don't think
yeah,
we're gonna. We haven't even made through page 1, guys.
And we're like almost an hour in. So like this section and this section are really small. The knitting is like really, really long.
Maybe we just do one whole episode down the road on our knitting one and the store questions.
Yeah. Because look, the general knitting questions are like almost 3 pages.
Wow. Yeah. So maybe we do this one and then call it good, and then the knitting ones we can...
Our knitting story is pretty short. The store ones are a little bit short, so we can kind of decide what we want to do.
Okay. Well, why don't we do our knitting story?
Okay.
Since we did our personal story, and then we'll see what we are at for time.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe add in one more section, and then we have a whole bunch of questions to do on another Q&A.
Right.
Another time. Or we'll just pre-tape a bunch today.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't stress my voice a huge amount.
No, not tons. Because she does have to be in court this week. I do. Okay. So section 2, we can go. So Ange knows if she has to, like, chop it up at all.
I might put little titles in between.
There you go.
Yeah. Our knitting story.
So our knitting story questions is next. So the first question, I can read the question so you can see your voice a little. How long have you both been knitting, and how did you get into it? So, you want to go?
Yes, I'm a self-taught knitter. I taught myself to knit in law school. I blame Martha Stewart. So I was a subscriber for a number of years to Martha Stewart Living. Mm-hmm. And in one of the issues, it was learn to knit. And I thought, cool, that looks fun. So I trotted off to Joann's, as you do, and picked up some awesome needles and some acrylic. I had no idea about yarn, size, weight, any of that stuff, and knit a scarf. I think I might have mentioned, I think I still have that scarf. I'll bring it in at some point. Show it on the podcast. It's really super long. No idea what I was doing.
Gotta start somewhere.
Exactly. And I just kind of dabbled at it here and there, and I would say probably the last 12 years or so, you kind of flip from being just a knitter to a knitter, where it becomes a lifestyle.
Capital K knitter.
Capital K, and I wouldn't even say capital K. I would just say more of a lifestyle knitter, where it's just been integrated into my life.
A day doesn't go by where it's not,
Right. Or I'm known as the person who has knitting with me. If I pull it out at a meeting, like, people aren't like, what's that lady doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some of them are, but most people that know me are like, oh, what you working on?
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to, like, what's that lady doing? So that's, I will say, for being a self-taught knitter, I don't I don't have a really good sense of maybe what are beginner projects and not, because I just was like, oh, I want to make this or I want to make that. And I didn't ever have anybody tell me you can't do this.
Or you shouldn't, you're not at that level yet, or...
Right, right. So I will say I struggle when I'm at the store sometimes because I don't have a very good sense of what's good for beginners or how to direct beginners, because I just would just tend to jump into things.
You were very adventurous and just kind of went for it.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'm kind of like, it's just yarn. Like, if you make a mistake, you can just rip it back or figure out a way to live with it. Or I tend to have a little bit different, I think, outlook than maybe some people who learned in a more structured environment where they were told this is the way you do it, or this is, you know, don't do it that way, or we don't do it like this. Like, I never learned any of that. I'm sure I have some really bad habits, but here's the thing with knitting. As long as you do whatever your bad habit is consistently, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, there's a lot of people say, oh, you're doing it wrong. I would say there's not really any wrong way of doing it. There's more there's traditional way of doing stuff. But if you're comfortable doing it, you're not straining yourself doing it, then I say go for it, you know? But yeah. So I learned to knit when I was probably 7 or 8. My grandmother first taught me the basics. So casting on, knitting, purling, binding off. And I kind of played around with it a little bit. But, you know, kind of on those straight aluminum needles with who knows what for yarn, just kind of leftovers. I've lost interest in it when I was kind of young teenager up through high school. I really didn't do a lot with it. I worked a lot, and I was pretty much into horses. I was working at a horse barn, taking lessons and riding a lot. So most of my time was either doing homework, working, or riding. So I didn't really knit at all after I originally learned. So I kind of lost a lot of skills. When I came back to it, I came back to it right around college, like partway through college, because I kind of wanted something to do in between classes and downtime and things. So I kind of came back to it, and I had to reteach myself a lot of it. Some of it was like, oh yeah, this is familiar to me, and it didn't feel foreign. So a lot of it came back pretty quickly, the motion of knitting, and that was fine. And then I really got into it, probably, when was it? It was after I graduated. Yeah, it was kind of like my early, like mid-20s. I was actually diagnosed with autoimmune disease, which I don't talk about, not because it's not important, but I just don't let it run my life. And if you're curious at all, I'll talk more about it. But my sister got me some really nice yarn and some needles because she knew I was going to be kind of out of commission downtime. So that is really kind of what pushed me back into it. And that's when I really became a good knitter. Yeah. Like, she had, you know, gotten me a great pattern. It was like this really cute little tank top and some really nice, it was like a cotton blend yarn. Nice. And it was lovely, and I just liked the feel of it, and it was a fun project, and it wasn't, you know, something unmanageable, and I think that's when it really stuck for me. So that was like, oh gosh, when did that have been? Like 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. So this is still pre-Ravelry. And so then I made a lot of things for friends. And it wasn't too much longer after that some of my friends, you know, a few years, 5+ years, friends started having kids, and you start making baby things. And I also did a lot of knitting and then felting. Like, I made a lot of felted bags, which was kind of the thing then too. Yeah. So that's kind of when it just really stuck for me, because I was just, and I was cranking out just a lot of knitting. So I wasn't doing really elaborate projects then, and I would say probably around the time that Ravelry came is when I really upped my knitting game.
Well, Ravelry made it so easy.
They did.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then with YouTube and things like that, you can learn techniques easier. It created a good social platform. So, you know, I had a lot of knitting books and things, and I did teach myself from those.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I became such a strong knitter was because I did teach myself a lot that, you know, you had to fix your own mistakes. And we were living over in the Adirondacks, and there wasn't a whole lot going on over there. So, you know, I had to figure things out. And, you know, I find that you become a much stronger knitter when you have to be like, well, I'm going to have to rip it back anyway, so I might as well just try to fix this. And so that's what I would do. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to try to fix this. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to have to pull it back anyway. Yep. And I did. And you really learn from your mistakes really quickly, and it just starts to click.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I mean, I think that's the thing you get, and a lot of it's just muscle memory. You hear us talk a lot about muscle memory, and people are like, how can you knit on the podcast when you're not looking at your project? Well, we pick very specific projects to work on while we're sitting, because they are generally in the round, stockinette, things that I don't have to look at because they just have knit so much that my hands just know what it feels like and how the stitch should feel. I can tell if I miss a stitch with my needle. Yeah.
It feels different.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. And then to add to that too, being in the store every day, seeing other people's problems, seeing other things. I'm using this stuff every single day, you know, like specific cast-ons or whatever it is, like techniques. You know, I'm helping people with these things every day because people are like, you know, how do you remember how to do this or that or whatever? You know, I'm immersed in it all of the time. So it's very rare that I have to go back and look up how to do something because I'm using it pretty consistently. So, you know, it's, it's been really good for my knitting game. So
awesome.
Let's see. My question is, when you first started to knit, how long did it take you to feel comfortable with holding your yarn and needles?
I think for me it took a while. I know I've adjusted 2 or 3 times how I tension my yarn, and it's taken, I'd say probably a good 12 years ago was when I really started to consistently knit, and it was knitting every night, right? So when I went from just knitting every once in a while to knitting every single night, or every day, that's when I noticed the change. Yeah.
Yeah, it does make a big difference. And like Ange, I've played around with my tensioning too, and it took me a long time. That was the biggest hurdle, I think, for me. Holding the needles, I was fairly comfortable with. I've never kind of death gripped, and I've also, you know, not been too loose with my knitting either. But once I figured out what the tensioning practice worked for me, that kind of really and I think that came to me fairly quickly. Like, I tried the thing where they teach you traditionally that you know, weave it between your fingers, and I did that for a while, but that didn't work for me. I would say probably about the time that my sister got me started with a really nice yarn, it started really clicking around then. So, you know, almost 20 years ago.
So and for me, tensioning my yarn depends on how thick the yarn is. So I tension it different if I'm knitting with thicker yarns. So this is a fingering weight. It gets wrapped around my baby finger and then over the top. So I'm tensioning here and grabbing through here.
That's interesting. I find it interesting to see how people do that. So for me, it goes over my thumb, and then around my middle finger, and then over my index finger. So that's what tensioning looks like for me. And then I can control it by how much I'm, have my fingers together, and also I can kind of pinch it a little bit with my thumb, because fingering weight yarn, I tend to have to, have a little bit more of a hold on, because it'll slip a little bit faster because it's thinner. The bulkier yarns, even worsted weight, I hardly have to have my fingers together at all. You just kind of let it flow.
Yeah.
But the fingering weight I do. And if I'm knitting continental, what I do with fingering weight is I actually wrap it around my pinky and then over my finger. So much like how Ange does. So for continental, that's how I am set up. So just around the pinky and then over my finger.
I'm backwards continental. I have to be special.
So, and I really have to work on knitting continental more frequently, because for my knit stitches I can knit along pretty good continental. My hands get tired because I don't practice that way very often.
Right.
And it's surprising how just changing one little thing, kind of changes the muscles you're using.
Exactly.
So, and my pearls are much looser. Not much, but they are looser.
Noticeably looser, yeah.
Yeah, enough so that if I weren't knitting in the round, then I would have to make sure I do a gauge swatch so that it's so that I track that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So so next question is, my question is this: what was the very first knitting project for each of you, and what yarn did you use?
So mine was a scarf, and it was Lion Brand homespun, which is probably the worst yarn for beginner to use, because it's
kind of that boucle type yarn.
Yeah. But, hence, fearless not knowing what I'm doing. I probably like the color and the price, which is why.
I honestly don't know what the yarn was. When I was a kid, what I started with, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was kind of an acrylic that my grandmother had. It was kind of like this robin's egg blue color. And that, because I do remember that, and I have a little piece of it somewhere, and I just knit little squares when I was a kid. But the project that my sister got me going with, I'm pretty sure that was a Rowan yarn. Kind of when I picked it back up for good and it kind of stuck. I'm pretty sure that was a Rowan yarn, a cotton blend, and I can't remember what it is. I think it might even be in this trunk that's in front of us. But
I will say the other thing that helped sort of progress me along was when I realized I should be buying the best yarn that I could afford, and that I started to enjoy knitting more when I was knitting with better product.
It does make a difference.
There's a place for every kind of yarn and a project for every kind of yarn. But at least for me, if I was going to invest the time in a sweater, it's easier for me to get through it if I'm using very nice quality yarn.
And I love wool. I love wearing wool. I love knitting with wool. I really enjoy it as a fiber.
Yeah. Me too.
So that's it. That's kind of my thing.
Me too.
So, let's see.
I used to order yarn off of eBay before I knew anything about yarn. I still have, I think, a sweater's quantity of yarn I ordered off eBay.
Do
I have
you
to
really?
bring it in.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't even know what it is.
That's really funny. Next question is, the question I like to ask all knitters is, what is the one thing that happened to get you to start knitting? Think butterfly effect. Like if this one thing, circumstance didn't happen, you wouldn't have started knitting or crocheting. Imagine how different your life would be.
Yeah, I know. Think of how much more money I'd have. No, I'm just kidding. Martha Stewart. I've always been kind of a crafty. person. I learned, my mom was a sewer. She didn't sew professionally like Kelly's mom did, but she sewed, and she's a quilter now. So my brother and I grew up, quilting and doing projects at home, and knowing how to cook and bake and put food up, and just the whole 9 yards. So I've always grown up in a pretty crafty household. My mom's crocheted. She tried to teach me to crochet. That was a disaster. So it's still a disaster.
It still gets flung at me.
Yeah, it's still crochet and I am not are not good friends. Muscle memory, so you need to just keep after it. But I think, if I hadn't had that sort of crafty background and, subscribing to something like Martha Stewart Living, where I just happened to be in there and catch my eye at the right time when I wanted to learn something new. I don't know. I mean, is it possible that I would have come into it at a different time? It's totally possible.
Yeah.
Totally possible, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think for me, it was kind of really that push from my sister getting me the really nice yarn and having some downtime, unfortunately, because of the circumstances, of giving me that push that I needed. I think I still would have come to it at some point anyway, just because I, like Ange, kind of grew up doing a little bit of everything, watching my mom sew and doing some sewing on my own, and she always was great about having different projects for us to do, like after school stuff and on weekends, and which was really nice, and my grandmother did too. So
I love the portability of knitting. I love being able to take something with me.
Yeah.
That doesn't have a very big footprint. I mean, I did a ton of sewing before I picked up knitting, but it's not portable.
No.
You cannot take it with
Unless
you.
you're going to do small hand-sewn projects, then it is definitely more challenging.
Yeah.
So
that's really, I mean, I think the portability of it is really, it's easier to incorporate it into your lifestyle because it's so portable, or at least for me. That's except now that my lifestyle is that it's in a giant bag because I have like 700 projects that I take everywhere with me, but I can bear them too if required.
What was the most hideous thing you ever knitted, or what was the worst reaction you ever got when gifting something you knitted for someone?
Well, the most hideous thing you ever knitted. That whole fun fur craze was just, that was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's starting to make its way back a little bit.
I did a felted bag once with we had wool and fun fur.
Oh.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. And that was a gift, so that might be a twofer. with the hideous, and it went to a friend of mine, and we're still friends, so I don't think I've ever seen that bag again. It's fine.
Yeah, I think I think most of the people that I've given things to haven't outwardly had a bad reaction to them. But if you don't see it again, it's just kind of, so. Yeah. I don't know if I have something that was like really, really hideous, but I think I've done, I did this, that when that kind of ruffle yarn, like you made Abigail's little skirt out of?
Yeah.
Like that whole thing when they were actually making the scarves out of them. I did one of those because it took like 2 seconds to do, and then I made it and I was like, what do I do with this now?
I might have made 2 or 3 of them and then went, what do I do with this?
It was adorable in that skirt you made for her, but like,
it's perfect for like little kids stuff, but as a scarf, I was like, somehow the 2 or 3 of them ended up at my office, and then eventually I was just like threw them in the garbage because I was like, why are these even at my office? Like, what are they doing here? And then I threw them away.
Hey, no, don't steal my yarn.
And that's kind of a bummer because I would have loved to rip them out and use them for
for her
skirts,
skirt, yeah.
But went into the trash.
That's funny.
Yeah. I did once knit a felted slipper. So felted slippers, you need to use non-superwash wool.
100%. Yeah, non-superwash.
And I may or may not have knitted one out of superwash and then felted it, or tried to felt it, pulled it out and was like, a giant slipper in felt. And it took me a little bit too long to be able to connect the dots as to what was going on. I was like,
why isn't this working?
What? Because I could have sworn I picked up the 100% wool, but apparently I picked up the superwash.
Yeah, well, you know, that,
instead.
that'll do it.
Surprise! You have a slipper that would fit a giant.
Maybe that probably is better than knitting something with something you thought was superwash and then throwing it in the machine and then that coming out.
That's happened a couple times too. My husband accidentally felted a couple kids' sweaters that went in the wash. So he felt horrible. I was like, it's fine. It happens.
Yeah, if it had been one of yours that had taken forever to knit, then you wouldn't. But kids' sweaters are, I mean, there are some that you would still be like sad about, but. So the next two we actually kind of answered in our conversation. How many years have you each been knitting? So all combined 20 plus for me.
Probably 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Okay. What do we want to do now? That's the end of our knitting story questions.
I'm just looking at how long this is already.
Yeah, what time is it? It is 3:30.
Yeah. Should probably sign it up. We're just so chatty. Chit-chatty.
We only got through 2 sections.
Chatty.
We got through one and a half pages
of our 6 pages.
We've got 4.5 pages to go. Oh,
we should just start.
We knew this was going to happen.
I know. We can't help it. We may have to tape a couple more sections, like at Rhinebeck or something.
Oh, that would be fun. And
then we could all 3 of us.
Yep.
Could do it.
That would actually be really fun.
That would be fun.
Yep.
We could do the store questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be good.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll do that.
Plan.
So we won't have you have to sit down for like 4 hours or more.
We could do the store questions and maybe general knitting questions.
Yeah, because that's the longest
Because that's really long, and that may be fun to hear from all of us. And then maybe like...
The animals and food questions we could probably do now if you want.
Okay, let's do those.
I think we can squeeze in pretty quick.
All right. Oh, and then retreat. Yes, we are hosting a knitting retreat.
Yes.
It's going to be in March. It's called Unwind with Must Love Yarn.
So last day of February and the first few days of March.
2019. Seats or slots are available on our website.
They're selling quickly though, so if you're interested, head on over and check that out.
Will there be local wine at the retreat?
Yes, there will. Yes. We're doing a wine tasting.
Yes, we are. Wine, local beer, and local hard cider.
And the tasting is included with the price of the retreat.
Yep.
And then there will be a cash bar. Yep.
Cash bar. Will there be cake? Of course there'll be cake.
Of course there'll be cake.
Of course.
And maybe donuts too.
And maybe some other stuff.
Yeah.
I heard something about s'mores, popcorn, and ice cream sundaes.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be able to eat for like a month.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we had a few questions about animals too. So the first one is, I've noticed in the past episodes you have a dog there. Is it new to you and you just want to keep an eye on him and not leave him home alone? It's a beautiful dog. So that's probably Ella.
Probably Ella. So thank you. She is a new to us dog. So Ella is 9 months old. She is some sort of lab mix that we rescued a few months ago. And so, no, she is not able to be home all day by herself as she's still a puppy. So she spends most of her time with me at work, one of the advantages of being self-employed and having my own office. And so she's with me, and on days when I can't get her to doggy daycare, she ends up on the podcast because she has to come to the store. Though Thursdays become one of her days where I just drop her off in the morning and pick her up when we're done because she's kind of distracting at times.
Like she can be.
Podcasting with kid.
If you guys watched the episode that we filmed in the morning, it was only 1 or 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah.
Where people were hilariously laughing at her playing with the curtain. That was so funny.
She does that to me when I'm wearing a skirt.
It was hilarious. You should just get a sheer curtain on a rod to hang up in your office, and it'll keep her occupied for hours.
I should.
She'll just play with the curtain. Just get a cheap one that you don't care about.
That's true.
Yeah.
Though I would worry about teaching her bad habits. Not that I have any curtains really in my house, but teaching her bad habits. If we go somewhere and then she eats somebody's curtain. Because she thinks it's okay to play with a curtain. But yeah, she does like to ghost the curtain.
Yeah. It was cute. It was cute.
She's pretty funny.
As far as herding cats, my question is, how many cats make up a herd? Stay cool.
More than 2.
Aunt has a herd.
I have 3.
So what is a pack of cats is called a clouder.
Oh.
And I learned that from Big Bang Theory, of course, because there's one episode where Sheldon gets a whole bunch of cats.
Okay. So how many cats do you need to have a clouder?
That I don't know.
No. I have 3. I probably have a clouder of cats.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 indoor cats, too. My house is a little chaotic.
Okay, let's see. Question, how's your horse? And love chicken updates as well. So, my horse is now 30. She's starting to have some rough mornings. So, with winter coming up, it's always, horse owners always have to face the hard question. So we just started her on a new medication. She's got bad arthritis, and that obviously makes it harder for her to get up in the morning.
Tough.
Winter can be tough, although she hates summer and loves winter, kind of like me. So, not that I hate summer, but she hates the bugs, which I hate the bugs, and it was a really hot summer.
Yeah.
So, she's doing good right now. She had a really rough morning on this past Monday. I thankfully had a friend nearby who gave me a hand getting her up, and had the vet come, and we talked about new medication, stuff like that. Don't want to make it a sad thing, but, you know, she's 30, and it's one of those things that, unfortunately, with life and being an owner of pet, a guardian of pets, or whatever you want to call it,
sometimes you have to make tough decisions.
It's one of those things you sometimes have to come across, deal with. Take to heart. It's never fun, but it's... chicken updates. Chickens are good. They're starting to lay a little bit less because we have a lot less daylight hours now. But
we were lucky recipients of eggs all summer.
Yeah, so it is nice that they're so good. Fresh eggs. There's nothing like them. All right, so next one. Cats or dogs?
Both.
Yeah, me too.
I have both.
I'm more of a dog person, but I do have both, and I like cats.
I like personality points of both of them and dislike personality points of both of them.
Horses or dogs?
Probably dogs for me.
That one's tough. I don't know. I can't. Chickens or dogs?
Did 3 Red Dogs post this question?
I think she may have.
Okay.
or
3
3 burners. Mm-hmm, she might have too.
Definitely dogs for me over chickens. But...
Yeah, the chickens are hilarious to watch, but they're kind of ridiculous sometimes. And dogs are definitely, you know, nice to cuddle with. I wouldn't cuddle with my chickens, although they do follow me around the yard, which is hilarious.
That is funny.
And then she says, you know, there is only one correct answer, right?
Yep, I'm assuming it's dog.
Let's see. The doggy I hear sometimes in the background as you film, is he store mascot? And they're during open hours, regular basis, or member of one of your families.
That's probably Ella.
So that's probably Ella. My dogs have made some cameos, but they're typically only when we record at home. They on occasion get to go to the store with me, but not often. And they're dead quiet when they're at the store. You like never hear a peep out of them.
Yeah, and you only heard Ella. She's a puppy, so she just has that, you know, kid, teenager sort of like, I want to be where you are. And when we had the episode where she was barking and whining, it was because people were coming into the store and she wanted to just go over and say hi.
Yeah.
That's my dog.
Yeah, she's not at the store all the time. She's actually not there like anymore at all because Aunt does take her to doggy daycare.
She got banned from the podcast.
She did.
Till she gets a little older and we'll just settle down and...
We have no store mascot, unfortunately. And then somebody asked, what kind of animal do you relate to the most? That's a good question. Like,
I was joking with Kelly and I said meerkat.
Meerkat. I think maybe I'm somewhere between like a cat and a horse. Because they both can be pretty independent, although horses, you know, do travel in herds. Cats are kind of independent and standoffish sometimes, and I don't mean to be standoffish, but I'm just kind of, I like doing my own thing. I think
I can kind of relate to cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they're done with you, they just turn and walk
like,
away.
I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
So I don't know, but I thought it was kind of funny. So that wraps up our section on animal questions. And the last one we're going to do for today is our food. And Ange and I, if you've been watching for a while, you know how much we love talking about food and what we've been making or what we've been eating or
something that we want to eat.
Yeah. And I'm so excited for the cooler weather because my whole menu changes. Like, I love
soups.
I love summer food, like grilling and stuff.
Yeah.
But, which we grill a ton in the summer.
Yeah, we do too.
But I really do enjoy, like, soups and roasts. I love doing roasts.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because, like,
my yard is
at my house all the time. It's wrapped around a cat leg. And cats are very cooperative when you try to unwrap yarn from around their legs. In fact, they're not. They're the opposite of cooperative.
She just laid right down. She's like, no. She's laying on our questions, too, so I can't see
and then if you try to unhook them, mine will bite me. Or try to scratch me, they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, she's not a biter. She's really, like, calm about everything. I trimmed her toenails this morning.
Nice.
And, yeah, she's just really good. So,
other than donuts,
food. Here we go.
Is your favorite dessert?
I love cheesecake.
I'm telling you, we are the same person.
West Coast you're West Coast Kelly and I'm East Coast Ange.
It's amazing. I love cheesecake.
I know. I make a really good one. I'll make it sometime. Yeah. I make a really good one. Yes. I'll make it for the retreat. It's the full recipe makes an enormous one. Yeah. Let's see. Do you have any other desserts?
That's probably ice cream, but like
I love ice cream too.
I really love a good cheesecake.
But my go-to
I will go to
at
it
a
if
restaurant.
I'm at a restaurant.
Yeah, that's me too.
Or key lime pie.
Ooh, okay.
The tart. Very tart.
Let's see. So maybe I just missed it, but what are your favorite donuts?
I, like wine, have not met a donut that I didn't like.
My absolute favorite donuts are a family recipe.
Ooh.
And my mom has made them like every year. So we've got deer hunting season up here, and my dad would always go to deer camp, as kind of you do, you know, when you're in the country. And so my mom would always make a batch of the donuts, and we would always, you know, keep some at the house, and then the rest of them they'd send off to deer camp with the guys. But my mom's not going to make them anymore because they have done the keto diet, so no more carbs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they look fabulous, and they've got so much energy, and they're doing really, really well on it. But
it's a bummer. Now
I have to like take over the baton of making these. I have not made them on my own, so I'm gonna give it a go. I've got the recipe, but it's been handed. It's kind of one of those that's been handed down through the years. And it's actually a sour milk donut. So you sour the milk, and it's got a lot of cinnamon in it. So they're kind of the consistency of a cider donut.
Okay.
But they're really, really, really good. Actually, the dough's really good too. But so I might have to make a batch of those and bring those in sometime. They're really good when they're actually hot with like a glass of milk or tea or something.
I'm a really big fan of like maple bars, like maple glaze, and then if you throw some like candied bacon on top, and then heaven.
Oh my gosh.
How do you choose between cake and donuts? I don't know that we do. I think it's just a matter of like, oh, we've maybe had too many cakes lately. Let's do some donuts.
And for me, I don't know. I like donuts, but my ultimate favorite are like my family recipe donuts. So anything else, like does not compare. I like cider donuts. They're close. They're a close second for me. But other than that, I will eat other donuts, but there's just like no comparison. So usually I go for cake.
Well, and I think maybe I just don't know where they are, but we don't really have any local donut shops.
Yeah.
We have like Dunkin' Donuts, and you know they're fine, but we don't have like the local. But we've got
a lot of pastry
pastry places that have like homemade cakes and cupcakes and other stuff that are just like out of this world.
Yeah.
So that's why we tend to go more towards cakes, because we can get these fabulously locally made ones. I think if we had like a local donut shop of some sort, you probably would see more donuts.
Yeah, probably.
But
let's see. I love your podcast. I really want to ask how I can get the Seaming Fairy to come do my seaming in Arizona, but I don't think that has a good answer. So my question is, what is your favorite chocolate? Thanks for the friendly fun you provide. Bonnie. P.S. I want to add that has been a standing joke in my family to say that I'm being crotchety when I'm crocheting.
Nice.
My husband always kind of jokes about that too.
Nice.
That was cute. I like that.
Nice.
Well, the Seaming Fairy will come to Arizona if I,
All
depends on where you are. If you're anywhere close to Flagstaff,
I was gonna say, all
as long as
an airline ticket.
Well, as long as my husband can come, he wants to check out Flagstaff. So if you're close to Flagstaff, then the Seaming Fairy probably could come and visit you. Chocolate. We are spoiled to have like Champlain chocolates here,
and snowflake chocolates,
here,
and some other smaller companies. That
yeah, we're pretty spoiled
when it comes to all kinds of food here, except apparently donuts.
Except donuts.
What the heck is that about?
I don't know. That's really funny. Maybe I could open a donut shop with my family recipe donuts.
There you go. Just what you need, Cal. One more thing to do. One more business.
Right. Another business. Yeah. So I really like. I've been really liking lately. We eat not a lot, but I like dark chocolate. And we get the dark chocolate with almonds and with sea salt on top. That's one of my favorites. And I'll have just like a small piece of that with a cup of tea in the evening, and that's my like dessert. So that's kind of my go-to. I really love dark chocolate. I do not like white chocolate. I'm not a huge fan of milk chocolate. Dark chocolate's my thing.
So I like any chocolate with caramel.
Ooh, me too.
So I found when we went camping, I took a bourbon caramel chocolate bar with me, and that was my s'mores chocolate that nobody else was allowed to have. I was like,
Mommy, don't touch it.
Don't touch it. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like peanut butter and chocolate too. That's really good.
I actually like chocolate that has chilies in it too. Like sort of spicy. Usually it's in a darker chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super good.
What's your favorite cake? Spice cake.
All cake.
Spice cake's my favorite.
Spice cake.
I like cheesecake too. But...
carrot cake.
Yeah. So I have got a really good spice cake recipe that I like too. And maybe that, the donuts that I really like, they have kind of a spicy cake kind of taste to them because you use a lot of the same spices in the recipe. So I think that may be why. That was my wedding cake. I had them do a spice cake for my wedding cake.
Cool.
I love it. Carrot cake has a very similar flavor, so I do like carrot cake too. My question is, what are you going to eat on your 150th episode?
I don't know.
Who knows? Donuts and cake.
Everything.
A donut cake.
Donut cake.
We could take donuts and layer them and then frost them and a donut cake. Why not?
Why not? Stay tuned into episode 150 to find out.
If you could eat just one dessert for the rest of your life, what would it be? I probably would say dark chocolate, because most evenings it's very rare that I won't have even just like a small square of dark chocolate or something like just a little. It's not too sweet, but it's not, so I feel like I'm having something, but it's not like full of sugar or because I don't eat a lot of sugar that often. It's very, very rare that I eat sugar. But I will have a dark piece of dark chocolate, or I get the like the really dark like not baking, well, like the you know what I'm trying to say,
like the bittersweet
chocolate chips.
Oh, chocolate chips.
Like chocolate chips. So I'll get the dark chocolate chips, and I'll like put a little bit in a little ramekin or something, and then sit down with my tea. And
nice.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those weird, quirky. See, there's another quirky thing for you.
One dessert for the rest of my life. It's probably a toss-up between like ice cream and like creme brulee.
No, I do not like creme brulee.
You don't like it?
Nope. I've tried, and I keep on trying.
I love the custardy sort of yumminess. Ice cream, just because there's so many choices, like there's so many different varieties and flavors that you could, I mean, just like Ben and Jerry's alone, like going through the different flavors. They keep rotating
retiring my favorite ones, though.
Yeah. But then they come out with really awesome ones. Have you tried the new core ones?
Yeah.
Do you not like it?
No, I do. They have, they've got a caramel core one that's really good.
That's one of my favorites. But I like the Cinnabon one. Have you had that one?
Nope, haven't had that one. That one's really See, I try not to eat them. I get them very rarely. So, on occasion, I stick with my chocolate so that I don't know. So, we didn't answer very many knitting questions today, but stay tuned because they will be coming.
I think Rhinebeck weekend, we could do, if we'll have time Friday and Saturday night, so we could do it over the course of a couple of nights. I think that's the perfect, and we'll get Jen in to answer some of the questions.
I think that'll be fun.
Maybe have a guest appearance by Carol.
I know.
So.
She might.
Be super fun.
So we don't need our first page and our last page because we answered those.
Oh, yeah, this one, we answered that. Oh, that's the last page.
Yep, first page and last page.
All right, and the rest of them
But the rest we'll save. I'll put that in my bag for Rhinebeck.
4 pages.
4 pages. Yep.
Okay.
Well, technically like 3. If you take the last off of that and the first off of this one.
Okay.
We got 3 pages. We made halfway.
Yeah.
We got halfway.
Did pretty good.
In an hour and a half.
We did pretty good.
Good. So see, and then you'll have the next part might be longer because we'll be drinking our wine and relaxing after crazy Rhinebeck, so
having dessert
or
other things.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Dark chocolate is really good with red wine.
Yes, it is.
It's really good.
Yes, it is. I have a couple bottles of red wine that I can bring.
I got some.
We need to coordinate food. Like who's bringing what or not, or
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we can do that. Bob usually makes
spaghetti.
He makes a pot of spaghetti sauce for us. So all we have to do when we get back from a long day of looking at is
boil some water.
Heat up the sauce. Noodles. He makes really good spaghetti sauce.
Really good.
And I usually bring like staffrette and antipasti, like olives and prosciutto and Parmesan.
One year we just ate that for dinner.
We did.
Got to the end of it, we were like, yeah, we don't need any more food.
I know. Yeah. So we definitely love our food, and we love just kind of picking and enjoying each other's company. And that to us is like, Rhinebeck is fun, but that's just like, it's nice for us, all of us, to get away together because we very rarely get to do that.
No kids this year. I think the last time we all went to go, I had Abigail with me.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was just a wee little nut.
And Jen wasn't there that year. Jen stayed and worked that year. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was you, me, and Carol.
Yep.
And then last year I was working.
Last year you worked and came down on the bus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's been a while.
It was before we opened
3
the store.
Years?
It was the year right before we opened the store that all of us were down.
That's right, because we didn't open until November, so 3 years ago.
It was our last hurrah before.
Right?
Before opening the
That's
store.
right, it was. I know. It was like right before. It was a couple weeks before we opened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Time flies. Sometimes it feels like forever ago, and other times it feels like just the other day.
The other day. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Wild. I measure it by Abigail's age because I actually found out I was pregnant with her not long after we got back from Rhinebeck.
Yep.
So,
that's right.
Surprise! No, it was more just like, Oh, so, all right, on top of everything else.
I know, we're going to be opening a store and I'm having a baby. Woo!
Yeah. That was super fun times. Super fun times.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Enough about that. It's a Q&A session.
I know, it's Q&A.
It's a Q&A.
If they've stuck around this long.
They've stuck around to the surprise.
Just you wait until we do the other 3 pages and we add Jen and Carol too.
There'll be like a 5-hour
And
episode.
wine!
Yes. Oh, man. Oh, boy.
We're gonna have to split that into like 3 episodes.
We're gonna have to split this one.
I know.
All right, we should probably sign
We'll
off.
wrap it up for now.
Thanks for sticking around if you stayed all the way to the
Yeah,
end.
and stay tuned for sometime after Rhinebeck. We're going to answer general knitting questions, which there's a lot of. There's 2.5 pages of general knitting questions.
Mm-hmm.
There's half a page of store questions, and then another half a page of podcast-related questions.
You know what I'm thinking?
So.
The next one we might air, well, it'll probably depend on whether we have any weeks coming up where we can't film,
Mm-hmm.
but if it might be like a good Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, that's a
one to
good one.
release.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, because it'll be longer, and most people, at least in the United States, would have like 4 days off. Well, unless they work in a retail location like a yarn store, and then we have like 1 day off. But for the rest of the population, it might, because it's generally a long weekend in the United States for most people.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a good. I'll give
And
me
the
a little
majority
time to
of our
edit
viewership is
it in the
U.S.
Yeah,
based.
yeah.
We do have some outside,
Yeah.
which is fun.
People from all over the world.
I know, it's
which
really
is
fun.
Amazing.
So
So
yeah, that's kind of a good idea. Or sometime around the holidays when, because sometimes things get crazy and we can't squeeze it in.
Yeah.
So.
Though luckily Christmas and New Year's are on Tuesdays this year, so.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of the same reaction. Huh. All right.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's right. So.
Anyway.
Anyway, thanks you guys for joining us, and we
you.
hope we answered some of your questions about our early knitting life and just randomness, because that's what a lot of the other stuff was, but it's kind of fun too. So, if you didn't know us before, you maybe know us a little better now.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Mom, no commenting down below.
So, from East Coast and
West Coast Kelly.
we will catch you guys next time.
All right.
Bye. We're gonna
Cut out
Yep.
stuff instead of doing outtakes, because the whole thing's gonna be like outtakes.
I know, it's been giant out. One big ol' outtake.
Ah. Exactly. Though if we don't do outtakes, people might be like, "What? What was that?
No meerkats?
What? What? What?"
Oh, I did a center pull with these. I don't do center pull very often, but
No.
apparently I did with these.
Yeah.
That's one unusual thing you can know about me.
Kelly does not knit from center pull balls.
Very rarely.
Me, on the other hand, I'm like, why is my yarn a mess?
We might have Lucy visiting us because she's like a little shark circling the water down here.
Yes, we're here in the craft bunker, which is also Lucy's space.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's mad because she can't get to the window. Oh, she's a cat.
I'm gonna figure it out. Challenge accepted.
She's like,
Maybe. No, I got this. I got this. Don't you worry. Sunshine.
It's beautiful. We contemplated doing recording outside, but we were afraid of lots of... I live next to... There's an organic dairy farm just north of me, and they're, doing a lot of their fall harvesting, cutting corn and things
Lots
like
of
that.
equipment
Lots of
noises.
tractors and things. So
Tractor noises. So we decided to come inside the craft bunker.
right. But the window is open, which is really nice.
It's so nice outside right now.
Mm-hmm. I know, the leaves are starting to change.
Perfect weather.
Perfect. I know. It changed fall, and like all of a sudden, fall is here.
It's here. Blew in Friday night in a crazy windstorm.
It did. Yep.
So,
all right.
All right.
You want to rock it?
Yep, let's rock it.
Okay.